Whatever you do, don't ask your IB teacher to change your IB predicted score. This is very important advice, and I want to explain to you why I believe this very strongly. Number one, let's take a step back. Most students in an IB diploma program will be applying to college during the first half of their second year in the IB diploma program. That's your last year in high school. And most colleges these days, both in the United States and in Canada, and actually also in Europe, inclusive of the United Kingdom, are looking at IB diploma candidates to provide these universities and colleges with IB predicted scores so that these colleges can guesstimate or estimate exactly the type of student they're going to be accepting based off of how their schools believe these students are going to finish their IB diploma program. The problem with these predictions is that they have to be made only about halfway through the full 2-year IB diploma program before they have to be sent to colleges and universities, especially if you're applying to very prestigious schools like Oxford or Cambridge, which require applications to be completed by October. In the United States, schools like UNC, Princeton, Yale, Penn, these are schools that have deadlines in October or early November if you're doing early decision or early action. So the teachers are in a real bind to make predictions as to how an IB student is going to finish his or her IB career, and that career is not going to be over until the following June if you're following the United States academic calendar. So that's a prediction that is really, it's like saying the weather is going to be sunny with a chance of rain, maybe a 30% chance of rain, not tomorrow, but in 6 months, 8 months. That's a very hard prediction to make. So already it's putting a lot of pressure on the teacher, but unfortunately this is something that colleges in the United States and Canada, as well as universities in these countries and also in European countries, including the United Kingdom, are looking for from applicants in their high schools. So that's just the lay of the land right now. Now, let's get back to the question at hand. Should you ask your teacher to change your IB predicted score if you get wind of what he or she has predicted and you don't like it? You may learn through the grapevine that, oh, maybe she gave you a 5 when you thought you were going to get a 6, or a 3 when you thought you were going to get a 4 in a particular class. Maybe through your college counselor, maybe through a process of elimination. You've been told by your college counselor that you have estimated 37 total in your IB points predicted, and then you figure out, well, I couldn't have gotten a 6 in this class, I probably got a 4 in this class, and then you sort of do process elimination. You figure out it was your chemistry teacher or it was your higher level English teacher who may have really made a prediction that you don't agree with, or maybe you don't know who made the prediction and you're just suspicious of all of them, and you go to all of these teachers and you attempt to cajole them to change their prediction. This would be a horrible mistake to do for 2 main reasons, but really 3 total. Number one, it's just classless. It's obtuse. It's craven. You don't want to go to your teacher with your tail between your legs and say, could you raise my score? Or I have a bad feeling, I really need to get to college. Could you raise my score because I heard that I'm only going to get a predicted 36? Or maybe your counselor even told you the exact grade, or maybe your teacher even told you the exact grade you're going to get, and you didn't like what you heard from your teacher, and you asked him or her to change your grade. It's too late at that point to do anything about it. And that's both an emotional feeling, but also it's a fact in most cases. Most of the time the teachers just won't change the grade. But if you're only coming to them once you know it's not a number you like, that just doesn't look good for you. So that's number one. That's probably the least important thing that I'm going to say, though. The number 2 reason You don't want to go to a teacher pleading or even asking nicely for him or her to change your IB predicted scores, because the teacher could hold a grudge. And you don't want to burn bridges with this teacher, especially if you were not told by his or her IB prediction, and then you confront him or her with, oh, I was told, or I have a feeling you gave me a 5 when I really think I should have a 6. Those IB predictions at some schools are treated like almost teacher recommendations. They're sort of confidential, and you don't want to go full throttle on someone who's just written a recommendation for you. The same idea. You don't want to go and attack head on a teacher who has made what he or she deems to be a good prediction based off of his or her expertise. And so when you go to him or her and say, I want a higher grade or a higher prediction, that's questioning his or her expertise. So it's going to bode poorly for your overall experience in that class, and could actually make your overall IB grade lower just based off of a worsening of the relationship. But frankly, the most important reason I think you shouldn't ask for your IB predicted grade to be changed is because, let's say the teacher changes it and you're happy for the moment. Oh, my teacher has no spine. My teacher lifted my IB predicted grade in lower level math, or higher level math, excuse me, from a 4 to a 6, just because, I pressured her. Well, then if you're applying to a lot of Canadian and European schools, if you don't actually get that 6 and it was predicted, those colleges, especially in Europe and in Canada, will pull an acceptance letter quite readily. I have worked with students who have lost their IB, their admissions officers at Canadian schools especially, once their IB scores do not pan out the way they were predicted to pan out. Because you do always have to send your final IB scores in the June following year or July following your senior year. So in the short term, it may give you a high. Oh my gosh, my teacher has now changed my IB prediction. But in the long term, it could be quite a bad thing for you, because it could pull out the rug from under you in terms of getting into a college you really want. That can even happen in the United States schools, though it happens less often in the US. But it does happen to IB students in all three areas, Canada, United States, and in Europe, inclusive of the United Kingdom, Scotland and England both, and also Wales and Northern Ireland. So keep that in mind, those 3 reasons. It's classless to ask your teacher to change the grade or the prediction. The teacher may hold a grudge, but also the last thing is that artificially inflated IB predictions will always come back to haunt you, I find. Sometimes more haunting than others. It could be as bad as losing your admission to a particular college you got into. If you are concerned about your IB predictions, think about it before you actually get them. Approach your IB teacher in the beginning of his or her course to clarify how you can learn the most and earn the highest grade in that IB course, and therefore highest score. Do it in the beginning of the course when you're starting off fresh. And that's going to be a better time to ascertain the rubric or the assessment scheme in that particular class, so you can aim for the highest IB prediction at the end of the process as you can. The other thing you can do is you can always speak to your college counselor, hopefully earlier in the college admissions process, maybe even in your junior year, about how to get a higher prediction at the end of the process, in 12th grade. And that college counselor can sort of act as your ombudsman, or your third-party advisor within the school structure. He or she is not a teacher. He or she, though, does work for the school, but he or she can also advise you as to the best way to move forward vis-a-vis the college admissions process.